Hey folks! For today's video, I am going to be doing another one of my Makeup Archives series, and today we're going to be exploring 2015. We are going 6 years in the past to look at products that were launched that year, things that were all the rage, things that we may have forgotten about, to be honest, because when I was going back into these archives, I was like, wait, that came out that year? What? So 2015 was quite a year. I would say 2015, 2016 were like the years that beauty YouTube really blew up. So once I start getting into like the more recent years, you're gonna see like even more products and less of MAC and more of everything else. But before I go any further, I would like to say that today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Here's how you could get delicious seasonal recipes with fresh, pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your front door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, making cooking at home fun, easy, and affordable. This particular meal that we're cooking today is firecracker meatballs with green beans and jasmine rice, and it was definitely a win. This recipe was just one of dozens of meals to choose from with the classic preferences, but there are so many options to pick, from low-cal, carb-smart, to vegetarian and pescatarian meals, so you're not stuck with the same meals week to week. And it's really easy to change your meal preferences. Going out of town and need to skip a week? No problem. One week you want to try more dishes with fish? Go pescatarian for a week. I really liked the meatball ingredients in this meal particularly. I'm a real sucker for fresh ginger. Plus, every box is packed with fresh and seasonal produce sourced directly from farmers. I will say right now, grocery shopping isn't my favorite activity, so cutting that stress out is especially nice during busy work weeks. Josh's and my schedules are never exactly the same, so finding a good time to go to the store when it isn't super busy isn't always easy. Being able to get the delivery, open the box, and get dinner on the table in just about a half an hour sounds good to me. I'd rather have something new and tasty and healthier to eat in a short amount of time than the boxed mac and cheese that I usually do when I don't have a lot of time to make dinner. So HelloFresh takes out the hassle of coming up with a recipe and realizing that you're missing just one ingredient, so you have to go back to the store. That's happened more than a few times, and it's annoying each time. I know I'm not alone in the guilt that comes from not eating something before it expires. We all have at least one salad dressing or marinade that is just past its sell date, and I hate throwing food away. Besides the money it wastes, food waste is a huge problem in the US, so being able to use literally everything in each meal makes me feel good about cooking, and I didn't have to buy a giant container of one ingredient that I'll only be able to use a few times before I need to throw it out. After all, HelloFresh's carbon footprint is 25% less than that of meals made from traditional store-bought groceries. So if this sounds good to you and you'd like to try out HelloFresh for yourself, go to HelloFresh.com and use code ABBYW14 to get 14 free meals, including free shipping. If you've been wanting to try a meal kit, now is a great time to try HelloFresh. Again, that's HelloFresh.com, and make sure to use code ABBYW14 to get 14 free meals with free shipping. Thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Back to the video. Now, I have gathered
evidence,
which is just screenshots of things that came out in 2015. Some of them I had, some of them I did, some of them I've talked about having before, but not all of them. I didn't have everything. One thing I did notice across the board, there was a particular color story that was very popular, very, very neutrals. Like not even like neutral warms, just like neutrals, like browns, taupes, blacks, not quite gray, and then like with one purple or one blue. We still had the neutrals with the pop of blue back then. Now it's just adjusted to like warm neutrals with like greeny blue. The first offender of this was something that I totally forgot about, and that's the Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani eyeshadow palette that came out in November of 2015. I'm going in backwards chronological because that's the order that the screenshots are on my phone. So this palette, I believe, was the first time that Urban Decay had colors that you could interchange and you could put in various places. The shadows were easily pop outable, and you could rearrange them. If you had other shadows, you can put new ones in there. I think this might have been right around when they redesigned the packaging for the single shadows. Were they that much better packaging?
Who knows?
But I believe that was around this time, and This palette was, like I said, a bunch of neutrals, a pink, a gold, and a blue. If you took those colors out, it would look like every KKW release. It is funny though, because this was kind of after I feel like Urban Decay had really hit their peak and they started to kind of lose some momentum. They started to lose some popularity. Other brands were coming up. Brands like Tarte and Kat Von D, those brands were kind of like gaining in popularity, and Urban Decay was kind of falling off a little bit. There's a handful of other palettes in here that I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't remember really paying attention to Urban Decay after this point. Really at all much. But yeah, Urban Decay and Gwen Stefani. This doesn't look anything like Gwen Stefani. Though, most of what Gwen rocked was like just red lipstick. So having like an eyeshadow palette that was partnered with Gwen Stefani seemed a little bit weird when it happened. I feel like more brands need to do that, where if there's a person that they're collaborating with that never wears like eyeshadow and like really only ever wears lip products, they're only known for their lip products, don't try and like shoehorn an eyeshadow palette collab in. Just do the lipstick, because that makes sense. One thing, oh my god, I can't believe that I forgot this in my last month's version of this. ColourPop launched in 2014. And so there were a bunch of collections that came out in 2015. I did a video, like a haul, like a ColourPop haul that I found from 2015. I bought 2 of the lippy pencils, 3 of the lippy sticks, and then 1 of the Super Shock Cheek. I didn't feel like buying any eyeshadows because I have way too many eyeshadows. These colors were really cool and fun, and I thought I would share them with you in a little bit of a ColourPop haul, because I need clicks and everybody's talking about ColourPop. 'Cause stuff. But they had a collection called Boogie Nights that was lip products and Super Shock cheek things, highlighters and Super Shock eyeshadows. Because this was back when it was really just the lippy sticks and the Super Shock stuff. And that was it. They didn't even have like eyeshadow palettes. They had lippy sticks, lip liners, and then the Super Shock. And this kind of, if you took out the green, it would, well, it's not exactly like the Gwen Stefani, but again, it's like this very 2000, early 2010s purple shade that isn't nearly as popular anymore. I feel like with eyeshadow palettes, this kind of like darker, dusty, like grape color. Did I have any of these? I don't think I had any of these ones. But honestly, one of the first collections I ever bought from ColourPop, it might have been in 2015, it might have been in 2016. It was around Halloween, and it was like a Kathleen Lights collab. I didn't watch Kathleen, I never really have, but I just remember really liking the eyeshadows, and I was like, oh, those look fun. So I bought them. I did not buy this, but the Super Shocks were fun. The Super Shock shadows, when those were the coolest things that ColourPop was putting out, it was a time, and I miss it. Oh, okay. This again was a little bit after Tarte's heyday. I feel like this was after the Amazonian clay blushes were really big and before Shape Tape. So this was in that lull where they were putting out solid products, but they weren't like wowing people like they did with the blushes or the concealer. And the Tartelette 2 in Bloom came out in 2015, and this is just a basic neutrals palette. It looked, I mean, like if this came out now, people would be like, wow, revolutionary. But it was 2015, so it was a solid neutrals palette that leaned warm, very much a bridal palette, very much a bridal palette. I always thought it was kind of funny that they called it the In Bloom, where I'm like, there isn't really like floral tones in here, like blooming wet. I don't know. I've had a handful of Tarte's eyeshadow formulas before, and they're okay. Like, they're fine. Their shimmers are really soft and kind of like a lot of fallout and kind of crumbly, but their mattes are fine. Next, oh my god, Sephora did a gem in the hologram. I can't talk tonight. Sephora did a gem in the holograms collection in holiday of 2015, which is honestly kind of cute. Ooh, it actually, there's like 2 palettes that I'm seeing in this that I can't pinpoint. It looks like a Nabla palette that was made bigger with some greens and stuff, but this is, I mean, again, oh, those are good pink and purple tones. I could use those. I always like a good pink and purple tone eyeshadows next to each other. Yeah, this had more of those, like a lot of beige, a lot of silver, but I mean, it definitely fits the theme, gem in the holograms, because I think there was a gem movie that came out in 2015. Didn't that happen? I don't remember. I didn't see it, but Gem was a little bit before me because I was born in 89. Okay. This is what I'm talking about, where brands did makeup collabs that were small, concise, but made the most sense in the world. In 2015, MAC did a lipstick collab with none other than Mariah Carey called All I Want, and it was a champagne shimmer frost lipstick. Perfect. Perfect collab. Small, tiny, concise. When you think of Mariah Carey, do you think of eyeshadow?
No.
Do you really think of lipstick all that much? No, but what you do think of is
Christmas.
So this was a perfect collab. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I've never been like a huge Mariah Carey fan, but I've always respected how much money she probably makes during the holidays just from plays of that song. So honestly, good for her. All I want is perfect. It's in a champagne shimmer, like the most holiday lipstick. I love it. This one I totally forgot about. When I was scrolling through Temptalia, again, shout out to Temptalia, Christine, you're amazing. She actually has a new collection with Sydney Grace. I don't have it, but like that's a thing that she's making. Sugar Pill did a collection in collaboration with Edward Scissorhands. When did this happen? I mean, it was the fall. I totally forgot that this happened because from what I remember, Sugar Pill had their like 4 quads, like the big round quad, like the round shadows in a quad, like the Heartbreaker, and then one other one. And then they did the big like artistry, like big pro palettes. And then after that, I don't remember there being another collab until it was the... And I totally forgot that this ever existed. This, I literally never knew it happened. But it's a 6-pan eyeshadow palette that has like a light baby blue, which I imagine would be like the powder that she put on Edward's face. A coral, which, okay. A white, I don't know if it's a shimmer or a matte, a cream, a gray, and a brown. And then in a light teal packaging.
Huh?
No wonder I forgot about this because it's bad. This doesn't aesthetically fit Edward Scissorhands at all. It's like, yes, that's like on the more whimsical side of Tim Burton movies, back before all of Tim Burton movies were exactly the same. This doesn't match at all. This coral's really throwing me off. Like, at least the baby blue with the other colors kind of makes sense, but the coral's like, what? And it's not even cute. That's ugly. That's an ugly palette. And shifting gears, back when Kat Von D was still respected in the makeup community, before she was ousted from the brand for being an all-around garbage person. Kat Von D, Mi Vida Loca remix collection. I never owned this. I have one friend who did, and I swear to God, I have never seen more people covet an eyeshadow palette.
Well,
maybe just covet it in a short amount of time. Something that was like fleeting, limited edition, never came back. This was such a coveted eyeshadow palette. People wanted them to bring it back year after year. I remember people still talk about this shadow palette as far as like rainbow palettes, be all end all of rainbow palettes. Now, thankfully, there's been more brands that have put out like better rainbow palettes, because for the longest time, this was just like a really good all around rainbow palette because it has yellows, greens, blue, indigo, violet, pink, red, orange. Like it has all the tones in there. Like it's a good palette, but it's very large. This is a palette that I would have looked at and was like, oh, that's really pretty, but like I would never use it. I've seen people deep hot this palette. It's huge. It's bulky. It's pretty, but it's not very practical because of the size. So yeah, the Mi Vida Loca remix was... oh my God. Now, onto more Urban Decay. This was the Spectrum eyeshadow palette from Urban Decay, and this was their take on more of a rainbow palette, even though it's literally just greens, blues, purples, and then a pink, but no yellow, red, orange. It's fine. It's fine. It's nothing revolutionary. This, again, was a packaging thing that I didn't like from Urban Decay. I liked more of the layouts of the Naked palettes. They're more compact. I did not like these big square palettes with the rectangular, thin rectangle pans. Just a pet peeve of mine. It was fine, but this was one of the ones that would get really like a lot of fingerprints on the outside. It wasn't the cutest thing for the longest period of time. And
next,
CoverGirl did a Star Wars collection in 2015. What? Was that when the first movie came out? Oh, it was 2015. Okay, so this came out in collaboration with The Force Awakens, the first Star Wars movie back. And honestly, I'm surprised that CoverGirl was the one that got it. But, you know, this was also pre-CoverGirl going completely cruelty-free. But the colors look, I mean, they look true to the theme. There's a lot of metallics, Like a lot of metallics. There's like a gold metallic and like a lavender metallic. I don't know if these were all very fully pigmented, but like they committed to the theme. Okay, this one, I don't really have anything quirky to say about it, but I just love the name of it. Lancome put out an eyeshadow palette in fall of 2015 called the Audacity in Paris. Audacity in Paris. Do you get it?
You get it?
Audacity in Paris. That's such a dumb pun. That's such a dumb pun. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Audacity in Paris. Like, what? And then it's that same kind of like neutral gradient to purple. I think the only thing from Lancome I've ever gotten was like free samples of mascara from Sephora or something. Like, I don't think I've ever purchased anything from Lancome. Anyway, now this. I need a sippy sip. Becca Champagne Pop Shimmering Skin Perfector Pressed for 2015. The infamous Jaclyn Hill and Becca Champagne Pop highlighter that I talked about in multiple favorites videos. I used it in multiple tutorials in 2015. That powder transcended her audience. It transcended Jaclyn Hill because they kept it in their line after the fact. You know, they didn't need to do that. I actually have to see when they're officially closing their doors and closing up shop because I might want to buy Moonstone before they go away forever. Oh man. 2015. This is what I said. This was the beginning of like the beauty community like really reaching its like peak time. Like this was the time. This was the year. I'd already been around for 5 years at this point, but this was when it all started happening, for better or for worse. Oh no. Okay, this is hilarious. Okay, so this isn't even like a palette. MAC has never really been known for doing eyeshadow palettes very often. They often do singles in their big collections. So people will buy individual colors that they like, either in a pan format from a pro store or in the regular like plastic container they come in. And this was a collection in summer 2015 called La Disco. I had to check and I was like,
wait, Shiny Toy Gun's La Disco came out way before 2015.
This has nothing to do with the song by Shiny Toy Guns. Remember that song? Yeah, this was another collection where it's a lot of like pinky neutrals with this just like dark smoky purples and then one random green. So a lot of these color stories, whether they are individual collections of like singles or palettes, the ones that aren't straight neutral had very similar vibes all in 2015. And it's interesting looking at it. It's like, wait, I'm getting a little bit of deja vu. Oh, Urban Decay Naked Smoky, a palette that I wish I had. I wish I had this. I really do. I wish I bought this when it came out because I feel like it's one of those things that if it came out now, I wouldn't be interested in it. Like if it was a new product coming out in 2021, I would be like, oh, I already have this, I don't care. But if I bought this when it first came out and then I still had it, I feel like I would enjoy using it. I feel like I would have not bought a bunch of other palettes if I had this. Like, I feel like I probably wouldn't have bought Sultry from ABH if I had this. Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't have. Like, I liked it. And the packaging was really pretty because there's like smoke and stuff, you know? I liked it. All right, now onto a palette that I actually had. This was the ABH Artist palette, but I had this for a long time. Like I just decluttered it like a year and a half ago, I think. And this was kind of like an all over the place colorful palette. There was like a periwinkle and then a yellow and then a shimmery orange and then a green and then a purple and then a dark green and then a silver and then a navy and then a mauve. So disjointed. None of it really made sense, but I loved this palette. I loved it. It was tiny. The mauve shade in the top left corner, which was called Dusty Rose, one of the most perfect eyeshadow colors I've ever had. If this palette hadn't been so old when I finally decluttered it, I would have probably depotted that shadow and just kept it somewhere because I loved it so much. Yeah, I mean, it matched the outside, thankfully, at least. Partially, but yeah, this palette is smaller than the ABH palettes that they put out later. 12 shadows instead of the 14. So it's a little smaller, a little cheaper. I loved this palette, honestly. Back to Kat Von D, the Shade and Light Contour palette came out in 2015. How? How is that only 2015? How is that only 6 years old? I do not understand that only happened 6 years ago. That blows my mind. That palette that like really was like the palette. It was the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette and then the Anastasia contour kit that were just like the contour books, the contour palettes, which is so funny because when you look at it now, it's like that doesn't even go that dark and it's all really warm. Again, this I don't think would have been a staple contour palette for people now, but that's so funny that it's only 6 years old.
Next.
This one, I don't know. I don't remember if it was well received or not, but it was the Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar Palette for spring of 2015. And I know the original chocolate bar palette did very well, but I don't remember if the semi-sweet one did. But honestly, looking at the semi-sweet one, I think I like the semi-sweet one better. I like that kind of greeny, bluey tone. I liked the browns in here more. I don't know. I like the semi-sweet one. I never bought any of these, but okay. This I remember because I owned one of these lipsticks. LA Splash, which is not very well known. I would get them inside Fred Meyer, like LA Splash was inside Fred Meyer, sometimes in Ulta, not in all the Ultas. LA Splash put out a line of liquid lipsticks that were Harry Potter themed, and I bought a dark green liquid lipstick called Nagini, which was named after Voldemort's pet snake. I wore dark green lipstick regularly in 2015. I was off the rails. I was wearing the wildest colors on my lips, including a dark green. But they came out with other ones too, but I just very distinctly remember the green one because I had it. It wore okay, but it was one of those liquid lipstick formulas that got very dry very quickly. So like the minute it like wasn't very full in the tube, it was very uncomfortable to wear and very dry and just not all that cute. We have two more things to discuss. Pat McGrath first launched in 2015. Pat McGrath Labs, the makeup, launched in 2015. I don't remember hearing about Pat McGrath back in the day, back when they first launched, because I wasn't very like well versed with like professional makeup artists that work in the fashion world, so I didn't really know who Pat McGrath was. This actually looks really cool, but I remember it was very expensive. Like looking at this, it was like $100 some for like a few products. It was very, very luxury prices, which puts a lot into perspective now that like the palettes that have 12 shadows are also that price. This was way more than I'd be willing to spend on a single product, but the colors look really cool. Last but not least,
Kylie Jenner lip kits.
started with a bang. I remember this was after everybody was like losing their minds of like, what lipsticks Kylie Jenner wearing and what is her secret? Are her lips filled or is she just really good at lip liner? Like, I don't know. This was when they capitalized on it, which honestly, brilliant business move. Taking weird things that people were saying about your teenage daughter and being like, fine, we're gonna make liquid lipsticks and sell it to you because you seem to love talking about my family so much. We're just gonna sell it to you now. In hindsight, I wish that empire had not stayed as big as it was because, you know, I have thoughts about the Kardashians in general and Jenners. I've never bought any of the lip kits before. I've never tried any of them. This was past when people were doing perfumes and perfume collabs. This was when people saw the real value in making makeup because people were wearing it and people were buying it a lot and very interested in things that maybe were not that interesting, you know, like whether or not Kylie Jenner's lips were real when she was 16. Yeah, Kylie lip kits. Man, what a time. What a time. My mouth's getting dry. So those were all the products I wanted to talk about from 2015. Let me know if you remember any of these in the comments down below or if there's anything from that era that you really remember because this was a fun time. Like this was definitely a fun time to look back on and be like, what? What? So I hope you enjoyed this. For today's song of the day, we're keeping it current because I heard this version of a song that's been out for a long time. I heard a version of this the other day and oh my goodness, I love it. The KiIIers, whom I love and I have loved since 2004 when Hot Fuss came out. Love that record, one of my favorites. I saw on Instagram that it was Brandon Flowers' 40th birthday, which like blows my mind because how is that man still so attractive? Anyway, but they did a newer kind of like remixed version of Dustland Fairy Tale featuring Bruce Springsteen and it's so good. It's really good. Like it's really good. And it was a collab that I never knew I needed, but I'm glad that I have it now because it was very lovely and it made so much sense and so pretty. Like I love the KiIIers. Like I love Brandon Flowers' voice. He has one of those voices that I feel like is gonna age really well. So yeah, that is your song of the day. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. I very much appreciate it. And if if you guys could go check out the link in the description below, that would be very helpful if you wanted to try out HelloFresh. And if you would like to see more of me, please subscribe and then hit the bell notification to get notified every single time I upload a new video. Check out my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Twitch. All of those will be linked down below, as well as my P.O. box. And I hope y'all are staying safe. I hope you're taking care of yourselves as best as you can. Staying cool, because I know it's very hot a lot of places right now. Like, it's very hot here. It's like, so wherever you are, I hope you are comfortable. I hope you are healthy and happy and safe. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!